Benedict Spence, you went to a different... I went to a comp. You went to a poshy school, didn't you? You probably wore the same outfit. You wear your three-piece suit.
It was very minor public school.
It was a minor public school. OK. Did you have a gender-neutral uniform? I'm going to guess the answer to that.
Well, yes, because they only just introduced girls in the sixth form when I was
girls were discovered by Benedict at the age of 16.
In 2009.
Girls were not happy about this.
That was a year. Yeah, for a very long time, yes, we did have gender neutral for that very reason. It was a single-sex school. Okay. But no, girls wore skirts.
Girls wore skirts. I mean, I always used to rail against having to wear a skirt at my school, but I mean, in the big scheme of things. But girls have been allowed to wear trousers at school for many, many years at all. And then, of course, you know, the boys are saying, well, you know, can we wear skirts? No, most boys are not saying that. But schools in Scotland have been told to ensure that pupils have the option of gender-neutral uniforms, or they risk breaking the law under new woke SNP government guidelines. The guidance also warns against dress down on non-uniform days because pupils may be worried about standing out, their appearance, or the additional stress these events might cause their parents or carers. Just put on a pair of jeans and a T-shirt like normal people. There are 42 references to gender in a 46-page document, including a warning that forcing trans pupils, no such thing, pupils who have been completely lied to and believe they're born in the wrong body, to wear clothes which do not match their gender identity could be unlawful under equalities legislation. Let's talk about this with Brian Monteith. He's a columnist for the Scotsman and is actually a former Conservative MSP. Good morning to you, Brian.
Morning.
I mean, well, let's just start with a communal deep sigh about this. Yet again, trans has to be talked about all the time, as opposed to the fact that the vast majority of other peoples may have other things to worry about. But I mean, what even is a gender-neutral uniform now, given that in most schools that are mixed, the girls can wear trousers anyway?
Well, I imagine ultimately the Marxists that like this sort of topic would want us to see us all in boiler suits. See our children going around in dungarees with nothing to discriminate them between them, whatever their sex or gender.
And we'd all have blue hair.
I'm of a generation, certainly older than you, when girls were sent home from school if they turned up in trousers.
Yeah.
And those days have gone. And skirts are in most cases optional, but they should certainly, in my view, be allowed. The idea of what this effectively means of banning skirts is, I think, wrong.
Because that is what it means, isn't it? Because we associate skirts with women. Now, I don't think I'm that bothered if a boy at school wants to wear a skirt. I think it's look at me, I'm different, I'm interesting, more than anything else. But as long as I'm not being required to, or my child being required to pretend that boy is a girl by using his preferred pronouns and lying, I'm not that bothered. I don't know whether the school should be that bothered. But why is the government getting involved with all of this?
Well, you've hit the nail on the head, Julia. The problem comes from back in 2006, that far back, Labour, the SNP and the Liberal Democrats abolishing school boards in Scottish schools. Had been introduced in 1988 by Michael Forsyth, now Lord Forsyth, to bring parental influence into schools.
Yeah, God forbid.
And that was not popular with the Marxists.
The parents didn't have the correct views.
Indeed. They thought of their pupils, their sons and daughters. And so what happened was they got abolished, and incrementally more power has seeped through to the local authorities and to the education minister.
And we've all been ideologically captured as well. I mean, the thing is, you'd think Scottish schools and the government in Scotland would have more to worry about than this, given that the Scottish education system used to be among the very best in the world. I mean, it was absolutely top-notch. The results were extraordinary. And now it's among the worst in the Western world, because they've taken out a lot of the values and the teaching staff which actually delivered that for those pupils. You'd think they'd worry more about the 3 R's rather than what the pupils are wearing.
Well, the two things that have happened effectively is they've taken out the rigour of education in Scotland, but also the discipline has deteriorated very badly. And I think that if you had a poll of school pupils, sixth formers to first year, then you would actually find the thing that concerns them the most is violence in schools, is bullying, is the threat of disorder. I think teachers fear that greatly too. And it's a wrong sense of priorities here that the SNP have. Probably a distraction in some respects away from the educational standards that are falling. But they really must focus on returning classrooms to learning, to teaching and learning and removing the bad behaviour.
Yeah. And teaching and learning the important stuff that kids need to know to get on in life, rather than this absolutely mad woke ideology which they are intent on basically infiltrating our children's minds with. Brian Monteith, thank you so much for joining us. He's a Scotsman columnist. Benedict Spence, I mean, I'm just so bewildered by what's been going on in schools in recent years. It's just do your job. Just teach kids. I want the discipline. I'm all in favour. I'm all in favour of teachers having a lot more control over it. And I very much believe, as a parent, in the parent's duty to, your kid needs to be on time in the correct uniform with the right attitude. Do their homework. I mean, that's your job as a parent. And we need to work in tandem. But it's just bewildering to me how obsessed schools are with that. Children's mental health, trans issue, every single ideological battle, the climate and everything. Can you get back to the basics? Because you're not doing that very well.
I think the really concerning thing is how quickly you can see sort of in vogue themes and ideas and trends, of which these are many of these things are. They can just sort of creep into the curriculum, and actually, unless you are a parent who's very hot on the topic, it can get so far before you even have an inkling that it's happened. And of course, when we're talking about actual children's safety, which the trans issue is, that's really concerning that schools can just be so opaque when it comes to actually revealing this stuff.
Children and teachers being threatened with basically being expelled or sacked because they don't play along with what is a complete lie that a boy could become a girl or a girl could become a boy. It is genuinely very, very terrifying.